Hey everybody, I am so glad to have you with me today. Welcome to Speaking to Your Spirit, and I want to introduce you to Miss Brandi Lambert. Thank you, Brandi, for being with me.
Absolutely.
So we're going to do a little bit of something different today, and that we're doing more of a coaching, simply because you've not been coached by me before. Have you ever been coached?
No.
Okay, what have you heard about coaching?
I've heard that it's important.
Okay.
I've heard that it can help move you to places that you're not already,
Yeah.
and just kind of ignite things in you that you didn't realize were there. So
Okay.
I've always heard that it's positive.
Well, good. So we're going to do a little bit of that today in order to show people, and I appreciate your transparency, but in order to show people how it works. All right? So can you kind of tell me or tell the audience about you, a little bit about you? Where did you come from? How did you get to where you are? A little bit about your family.
Sure. Well, let's see. I am 36, just turned 36 the day after Christmas.
Ah.
Yeah. Yes, and I have 5 children,
Mm-hmm.
19, 13, 11, and 7-year-old twins. I am married. I've been married for 16 years to a wonderful man.
Adores you.
A wonderful
Adores you.
Yes, and we got together when we were both in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was a teenage mother,
Mm-hmm.
so my oldest son, actually he's 19, is he 19? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had him when I was 16. I had just turned 16.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I mean, I'm a proud business owner. My husband and I own a business together, and we facilitate real estate settlements and do general notary work throughout Virginia, Maryland, D.C., North Carolina, and Tennessee.
And when did you start the business?
We started the business 12 years ago.
Okay. And how has it worked, husband and wife team? Because I'm sure there are viewers out there who would love to start something with their significant other.
So it's challenging sometimes, but all in all, it's good because you can both understand what's happening, right? And so when there are highs and there are lows, you don't have to take time to try to explain what's going on, right? And it be foreign to the other.
Right.
But you have to have safe spaces. You have to have the time.
Because I was going to ask, do you take your work home?
Yeah. So yes, always, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your work affects your mood. It affects your finances. It affects everything. I'm a very emotional person, and so if there's a problem with a client, if there's a problem with one of my vendors, if there's a problem with our finances, then it's going to come home with me, and it's probably going to stay with me all night. And so that's just the type of person I am. My husband's not that way, though. My husband's very set it and forget it. And so he's there to even me out.
That's what I was going to ask. He kind of evens you out. That's cool.
Yeah.
So is this what you see you doing the rest of your life?
No.
Okay, talk to me about that.
No. So I'm actually studying now for the LSAT. I've taken it twice, and I just haven't achieved a score that I want in order to go to law school and be able to go there for free, which is my goal.
What a great goal.
Yeah. So, but I think I always want to have the business and own the business and to see it flourish. But my role in it, I know is going to change.
Okay.
And I really want to change.
So LSAT means you're looking to be an attorney.
Yes.
All right. So where did that come from, and where's that going to fit into what you're already doing with these children?
So I've always wanted to be an attorney. I've wanted to be an attorney since I've actually wanted to be a judge since I was 7.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's always been in me, right? And so
and you've held on to that
all my life.
Good.
Yeah, all my life. And so I think different things happen in your life, and they make it interesting, right? And life's not going to be a straight line. You're going to go around the corner and around the bushes and under the tunnel and all kinds of things. And I think all of those life experiences are to help you with what your end goal is, right?
Right.
And so I've held on to it, and I intend to do it.
So what made you go into lending as opposed to even law early on, even as a clerk? I'm curious.
Yeah. So again, so I never was actually interested particularly in real estate. And so just happenstance, my mother-in-law was doing a refinance years ago, and I have a degree in finance. And so she asked me to review some of her paperwork for her, and I said, sure, no problem, Mom. Not a problem doing that. And so I reviewed it, and her loan officer, and asked her loan officer some questions, and her loan officer happened to be the lending manager of this particular brokerage firm. And she said, well, do you have experience in this? And I said, no, I don't have any experience in this. I just know what I know, and this doesn't particularly look right. And she's like, well, I'd love for you to come and talk to me. And so I went in and I met with her, and she said, I would love for you to be a loan officer for me. And I was like, well, I don't have any experience in this, and I have, at that time, only had our oldest. And
but this is such an interesting point, because that's exactly what most women say.
Yeah.
I haven't been to school. I don't know enough about this to do it.
Right.
When somebody who's in the profession saw it in you before you even saw it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what was wonderful about it is that when I got into it, I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it.
Yeah.
And just the strategy of it, and I was just hungry to learn so much about it. And it was in the heyday when everybody was refinanced, and then you could walk down the street without a loan falling in your lap. And so I did that for a while, and then I ended up being recruited to Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And I was there for a while, and then I had our twins. So, I rewind a little bit. My husband was studying to be an appraiser. And so on the side, he was facilitating real estate settlements.
Right.
Because I was a loan officer, and it was just a natural thing. And so he was doing that on the side just to make the extra money. And then we realized, wait a minute, there's a real business here. We could actually facilitate settlement.
It just organically evolved.
It just evolved.
I love it.
And so I was double dipping, and I was at the bank, and I was trying to originate, and I was trying to grow the business kind of on the side. And we got to a point where my husband was like, listen, you're working too much, so you have to decide. Either you're going to continue to lend, or you're going to
Be an entrepreneur.
And if I'm being honest, I wanted to be a part of it with him. I wanted to see it grow with him. I don't know that I wanted that more than I wanted to excel in lending.
Okay.
But I didn't like it more than I liked lending.
Interesting.
But I was younger.
Yeah.
So I think if I was at that place now, I may have gone different.
So talk to me about what barriers you see. What is your biggest challenge right now? Whether it's going into law or where you are right now, what is one of your biggest challenges?
I think that one of my biggest challenges is getting out of my own way, getting out of my own head, and when sometimes when I have things going on, things that are bothering me, I have a hard time moving forward until it's resolved. But you can't resolve everything right away.
Right.
And so I think for me, that's really my biggest challenge, is being able to move forward even when I have unresolved.
So there's this sermon that my pastor preaches on, men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti. So we kind of, we connect one piece to another piece and just move. Guys are like this.
Yes, compartmentalize.
And then
absolutely.
they're like this. Yes. And we need to take a page book,
Absolutely.
a page out of that booklet, because you're exactly right. You cannot make decisions if you hold on to what you see. And I always share with folks, you have to make decisions based on where you want to be, not where you are right now.
And that's something my husband is wonderful at.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I say wonderful, I mean he's wonderful at it. And while I'm a very good decision maker, getting to the point of making the decision,
right,
can be It's always a kind of a stuck in the mud.
So what have you been doing to nurture you? What have you been doing to grow you? Now, mind you, I understand with the 5 children, but it's important for us to really kind of break this down a little bit to see what time do you have for Brandi?
Right. So that's actually something that I probably fourth quarter last year really decided that I have to start to introduce. Right. So, but what I had to think about first was, what would I even do at that time? Right.
Wow.
What do I even?
You hadn't even. Wow.
What do I like?
Yeah.
You know, what would amuse me? And not amuse my kids, not make my husband happy, not And so that actually,
it's a huge question.
It is a huge question because when you've been responsible for another life, at least one other than yours, since you were 16, before you even knew what life really was, it's easy to lose yourself. It's easy, honestly, you may have never actually found yourself.
Probably not at 16.
Yeah. And so my husband he went to the Marine Corps when he graduated from high school, or shortly after he graduated from high school. So it was my oldest son and I for a while he was away, and he was in for 4 years. And so my son and I grew closer, and I was in college. So I went to college straight out of high school, even though I had this 1-year-old. And it took me 6 years to finish, but I finished because I worked full-time during the day and went to school at night. So in terms of, to your point, I don't know that I ever really stood back and said, what is
got an amazing drive.
Yeah.
You're very driven, and so I could certainly understand this, because it's like, okay, this happened, but this happens next, and here you are at 36, which is why I'm so excited about you finally deciding that you want to go, into law, because that still seems to be very powerful in your spirit.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And so I think, and even in that, if being honest there, it's important to me. I feel great about it every time I think about it, but it is something that is not at the forefront. It's not what I'm focusing on, because I feel like that there are other things that I need to take care of.
Like what?
Oh, I have all kinds of stuff. My oldest is at Virginia Tech, and so I have to make sure he's good there, and then I've got...
Oh, so these are for other people, not for you. Okay, I thought you were saying there were other things. Okay, okay, all right, interesting.
Yeah.
So if we go into a coaching relationship, then that's the kind of thing we're going to work on, is what is it about you that you don't value you like you value everybody else in your life? You are incredibly important. You're the glue. You're the linchpin for the family. If anything happens to you, everybody else kind of falls apart. So your value is priceless. And it's important that you see yourself that way, because everybody else does. But like most women, we don't, and so I would encourage you to put that, is it LSAT?
The LSAT.
In the front of everything. It should be on your screen, it should be around your mirror. That's your vision. And we were talking about vision earlier, right? Your vision is what keeps you on the right path, because it's what you want, and so you make decisions based around that vision. Your 19-year-old is going to be fine. Everybody's going to be fine. Oftentimes it is our ego which says, well, he can't do it without me. They can't do it without me. They can't. And they can, because you've raised them well. And they got a great dad.
They have a wonderful...
They got a great dad,
So it's interesting that you say that, because Quinton and I talk about this. He recently got his real estate license. And I told him, I said, I really can't be part of that, because that you have to take care of that for you. There are some things that I'm great at that can help you with that. But I can't give all of those things, because then I'm involved in it, and it gives me something else to detract from the things that I want to do. And so even just speaking that and recognizing that was
Did that
something
feel
I
good?
celebrated for myself.
Good.
Now there are some foundational things that I said, hey, here's some process things that I'm really good at that you should probably implement that would really help you with them. But outside of that, the dirty details that
Right.
get me distracted from the things that I need to be doing,
That's right.
I have to stay away from.
That's right.
Because he's going to be wonderful.
Of course he is.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
At that, it's his calling, really. But I just can't be involved.
So what I'd like you to think about as we move forward and determine where we're going to go with this relationship, I really want you to think about where you see yourself in 4 years, or even 3 to 5, because you're just 36. Where do you see yourself? So I want you to write it down. Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Because that's going to be your vision, and I can help you with that. Because it just needs to be succinct. It needs to speak to who you are. And then another thing is we can work on even doing a vision board at some point. And the first step to that vision board when I work with people is to take 3 minutes, and you can take it from your phone. Get your phone, put it on the 3-minute timer, and write down what you still want to do with your life. What you want to do. Not with the kids, not with the husband. What do you want to do?
So what do you say to people who have barriers?
Well, I'm so glad you said that, because that's what I do as a coach, is to show you how to first identify them and then remove them. We've got to figure out what they are first, and then we remove them so that you can move forward. And we all have barriers. We all have them, which is why coaching is so important. So, but even if you begin with the whole vision piece, and I know it's hard to see, but it's because we haven't, as women, we're not always honest and truthful with ourselves. With what I really want. This is what I've been wanting since I was 5. But somebody told me I couldn't do it. Somebody else told me I couldn't do it. Somebody else told me I couldn't do it. And here I am, still wanting to do it. Why can't I be what everybody wants me to be? Because it's not their journey. It's your journey. It's your journey. So I'm excited for you. You got a lot going for you. You've done amazingly well. I could just see you kind of breathing at this point, So it's a lot to think about. What do you take from this? What are you going to take from this?
Well, I think it gives me motivation to keep moving forward, right? And to really think about each moment of each day. Is this moving me in the direction I want to be in, or is this taking me back?
Right. That's it. That's right. Is it taking me off the path?
Yeah.
And that's what we tend to do. We just hop from path to path to path, because one kid asked this, one child asked something else. And it's about being intentional and focused with what you want to do, because all of that is going to bring awesomeness to your family.
Yeah.
Because you're growing and you're going to be more awesome, and they're just going to benefit from that. And there's one other thing. I can't stand the word selfish, because it's not about being selfish.
Right.
It's about being selfless. So, Brandi, I have one more question for you, and it's the word that comes to mind is overwhelmed, and you just look so calm and cool. Has that happened in your life? Have you felt overwhelmed at any point?
Oh, absolutely. I think a true turning point in my life was back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest son had heat stroke. He was at football practice and overheated. And they had to rush him to the hospital. And I got to the hospital, and I was met by my husband and 2 chaplains.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just taken aback by that. And they met me before I could see him. And I said, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, well, we just come and help support. And I said, well, I've been here a dozen times to the emergency room, and I've never seen a chaplain. So I've been in the corner, and my son's laying there, and there are at least 8 people in the room working on him, and they've cut off his clothes, and they have tubes everywhere, and he's intubated because he wasn't able to breathe on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And so his organs had shut down because his core temperature had gotten too high. And so the doctor's advice is that he wasn't going to make it and that we needed to make arrangements. And we just kept praying and kept believing. And he made it through. He was in the hospital for over 30 days. And he was on 24-hour dialysis for a good part of it.
Oh my goodness.
Because his kidneys had shut down. But at that time, leading up to that even, I was so overwhelmed with work. I wasn't focused on me. I wasn't focused on my children. I wasn't focused on my family.
Was this the business work or the full-time job you had?
The business work.
Okay. Okay.
So, because by this time I had transitioned to just the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten to a place of just suffering, where I was just there doing what I felt like I had to do. I was
almost
working
like a robot, huh?
20-hour days,
Yeah.
just to make ends meet or make things happen or whatever I thought I was doing at that time. And I think that the heat stroke came at a point where I needed to reset. I needed to refocus. And it gave me an opportunity to look at my family and appreciate what I had and let go of the things that didn't need to be there anymore.
And the ego, all those voices in your head saying you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this.
Because you get to a place in life where you think, well, if I don't do this, then things are going to fall apart. Right? If I don't make this client happy, if I don't, put myself out to make sure that this gets taken care of, then, things won't work.
Which is so interesting because as a business owner, we're always holding on to that one client that is such a pain, but we're holding on to them instead of saying, wait a minute, this is my company, I'm the boss, I can let this go because others will come that will work with us. And so,
because, clients can become a cancer. And you're choosing them, right? You're choosing to deal with that. You're choosing to allow these people to have you feel like you're beholden.
Right. And that's not why we left full-time jobs.
No.
That's not why we left them. I love it. And so your son, of course, where is he now?
So he's at Virginia Tech. He's
all right now.
Great. Yeah.
Good.
He's doing great.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For being with me today. We will continue to talk. And we are all rooting for you to be the most amazing attorney
Thank you.
ever to exist.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Bye, Brandi.